Caviar is an international sign of luxury and class. But is that extra 20 bucks for that little bump of caviar on your crab cake worth it? I intend to find out. So today we're diving headfirst into the world of fancy fish eggs, aka caviar. We're gonna break it down from a cook's perspective and answer the big questions. Why is caviar so expensive? What kind of caviar should you try first? And how should you prepare it? All of this, of course, to answer the ultimate question, is caviar worth your hard-earned cheddar and time? But before we get into it here at the crib, I want to take you on a little field trip to one of the cooler places I've ever stepped foot in. This place is a food nerd's dream. It's a full-on laboratory and ran by a modern-day culinary sorcerer. I'm not exaggerating. Roderick Marcus is the founder and CEO of Rare Tea Cellar, which is spelled like wine cellar, not like a salesperson. Don't let the name fool you. Yes, Roderick is one of the nation's top professionals in tea and sells some of the rarest varieties on earth, but he's also responsible for supplying some of the world's best restaurants with other specialty food ingredients. Think caviar, rare and hyperseasonal fruits and vegetables, specialty meats, soy sauces and balsamics that are over 100 years old, that sort of thing. Basically, as a young man, Roderick spent a lot of time hustling his teas into top-tier restaurants. Then, chefs began asking for specific ingredients in the teas to use in other dishes, like, toasted rice, dried fruits, fine herbs. This simple request led Roderick to dive deep down the rabbit hole, learning about all sorts of other specialty ingredients. I mean, this guy's got stories for days, it's crazy. Now, his world-class business is tucked away in an unassuming neighborhood on Chicago's North Side. He's not only a local celebrity to chefs and line cooks alike, but also works with over 1,800 restaurants worldwide, many of those being Michelin-starred. He's been to the mountaintops of China to pick tea, to Dubai to get saffron, and truffle hunting all over the planet. Basically, this dude is a serious food whiz and a national treasure. And, he dresses the part too. I guess we should start by defining caviar.
So caviar is going to come from a sturgeon. It's the baby eggs from the sturgeon fish.
Okay.
27 species of sturgeon.
Okay.
That's the only way to have a true caviar.
True caviar.
Everything else in the world would be considered a roe. Anything from like a whitefish, a salmon, a trout, or even paddlefish.
So all caviar is roe, but not all roe is caviar.
Yes.
Sort of, right? So it comes
I like
from
your style.
Yeah, it's like but this is like a very special roe from the sturgeon fish.
It is.
What makes this so special and luxurious?
So it's time and rarity.
Okay.
First of all, a lot of these species are almost prehistoric. The sturgeon looks like something that came out of, the dinosaur age. They're just incredible.
Because they did, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They're super old, right?
They're super old. What really happened is they were overfished, and that's why everything on the market now is farm raised. If you find anything wild, unless you're in a country where they don't care about the wild, which there are some countries that don't care, these are 100% farm raised, and really, depending on where you go in the world, some of the most pristine aquaculture on earth.
The fish themselves they're these big creatures that they need to keep alive in these like tanks, and these very well kept tanks for like a super long time.
And they're usually even bigger than a tank. It's like massive operations, like almost like lakes.
Wow.
Like man-made
indoor
lakes.
Wow.
Not even indoor, mostly outdoor.
Okay. All right.
And the really fascinating thing is it's really time that's your first obstacle. You got to keep the sturgeon alive anywhere between 8 and 22 years, depending on the species, and then they harvest the final, result. So Ocetras are always going to be, 15 to 22 years old. The beluga hybrid is, 20 plus years old.
So those are the species of sturgeon.
So there's some of the species.
Got it. There's a lot of species. There's a lot of different price points.
Yes.
We'll talk about that today. The color matters. Should we crack some open?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. What should we start? What is this? What is this little mechanism?
So this is a little caviar key.
Okay.
Just a little way to kind of like pop the tin.
Okay.
So this would be the first one. This would be white sturgeon.
Okay.
Beautiful caviar, assertive. Love this paired with a lot of creamy dishes or burrata, or even on a pizza it'd be great. It's got a little more salinity than some of the other styles, and it's got a lot more flavor to it.
Okay, cool. Like a fishier flavor?
A little fishier, but a little more oomph to it,
okay,
so
cool,
to speak.
Cool.
Then we're going on to really what I call my workhorse caviar.
Okay.
And if you were going to ask me when I first started importing tea if we'd ever be working with, caviar from China, I probably would have said, I doubt it.
Caviar
and
from China.
then you know, about 20 years ago, they developed some of the nicest and most incredible aquaculture on earth in China. You know, the water's really never touched by human hands, and it comes out better than it started. Meaning, like, it's so pure, the water, that, you know, as the fish are living in it, it's 100% sustainable how they do it. But what's wonderful is, you know, normally you just get about maybe, let's say, 3 to 5% of the entire harvest of a year will be golden. Because this is one of the larger aquacultures in the world, we're able to maintain a lot of that golden.
So when you say golden, it's this greenish color.
Yeah.
It's greenish golden.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get the, yeah. Look at those shining. They almost look mystical.
So this next one is
Another
smoked Kaluga.
Oh, okay.
This is what I call the Kaluga Flex.
Yeah.
This is like when you take a Pappy Van Winkle barrel and you decide to smoke some Kaluga.
Whoa.
So what I love is then it adds a little more depth to it, a lot of, you know, smoky qualities, and then this will really pair incredible with, you know, meat and protein. And then we go on to the category of Osetra.
So this is the different species.
Different species. So Osetra is very popular in terms of people's minds, you know, in terms of like a really high grade of caviar. What you got to understand, though, is in the U.S., people can put any label they want on anything. So there's a lot of mislabeling.
The black market.
People you got to really trust your purveyor.
Got it.
And trust your source, because you could be really eating anything any other style.
There's no like caviar police to tell you this is.
There is not. Whereas in Europe, there's more control.
Got it.
So this one's the Osetra, the true golden Osetra.
Oh wow! Look at that
just
color.
Look at that color.
That is super light.
Super gold.
Wow.
And that one is, what I love about it is it's really dynamic. It's gorgeous on a plate. And it's also super appealing to the eye. Extra creamy, a lot more body than a traditional Kaluga. Just a little more depth, but super sexy.
So these fish,
Yeah.
you open up the fish to see the roe, and you don't know if it's going to be golden or not.
You don't.
So you don't know your yield, and like you're not just like growing fish for golden Osetra. It's just like it's a rarity thing.
Right. And then this one is a traditional Osetra, which would be one step below the golden. I was a little out of course there, but
It's all right, no worries.
But just also, you know, this sturgeon is anywhere between 15 and 22 years old.
Oh, that's an old fish.
So you think about, you know, someone had to basically maintain the integrity of the fish, keep it happy,
Sure.
keep it healthy for
I mean, it was going to get
20
its
years.
license. It could finally buy cigarettes. It can
I mean,
go to the bar
honestly,
now. That's
you
a
can
lot.
drive down the street. It's like amazing.
So the Osetra generally is a bit more pricey than the Kaluga would be.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's really has to do with age and time.
Age time, you're pumping
Because
in resources.
once they harvest the caviar,
Yeah.
basically, if it's a real reputable situation or farm, they're just going to cure it with a little salt.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, they occasionally use a little borax, but it's illegal in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
We choose to do caviar that's not pasteurized, so we'd rather have a shorter shelf life and have it more lively.
like fresh and what it is supposed to be.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because pasteurization sure is going to turn something that would normally last, let's say, 3 months to 8 months. But with that, it changes the texture of the eggs.
Yeah, the
and
heat would just
flavor.
mess with everything. It's too delicate of a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
understand that for sure.
And then we get into like the category that's exciting also of beluga.
Beluga.
So this is a beluga hybrid.
Kaluga, Osetra, beluga.
Yeah.
Okay.
The beluga is, you know, the closest to the original beluga that used to exist in nature.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist anymore. So this is a hybrid of a Huso darius, which is technically a Chinese beluga. And then this one is crossed with a sterlet, sometimes cervuga. And what they do is when they cross the two species, they basically are trying to get as close to the original form of the traditional beluga. And it's just like anything else, you know. It's like if we were talking bourbon, sure, the 10 years good, the 25 years even better. But it's like, you know, all these different styles, they give a little something for everyone. And, you know, I just feel like it's one of those things where as people play with it and kind of develop their palate, you kind of learn what you love.
To that point, it's not the cheapest thing to get. The barrier to entry is a little high.
Yeah.
So if I was to try to, you know, want to get my hands on some caviar to first start, where's a good starting point as far
I
as
would
price
say
and flavor and everything?
either the Kaluga or the white sturgeon.
Okay.
They retail at about $70 an ounce right now.
Okay.
So about, you know, a little under $3 a gram.
Got it.
and a decent portion for someone just to start out would probably be 5 grams.
Just to understand what caviar is, the essence of it. And these do all have their own unique different flavors, but that one's going to be kind of like an all-purpose, like a workhorse, you said?
I call it a workhorse just because it's, like the Golden Kaluga for me has a lot of the attributes you get of a Golden Osetra. It might not be quite as stark gold, but it has a lot of great flavor to it, and it delivers every time something really creamy and without any bite to it.
We got to talk about the other types of rows that, substitutions. If maybe you're like, you wanted to get your feet wet in the roe world, didn't want to pull the trigger on the caviar just yet. We have some other interesting things here. What do we got?
So, the most traditional one would be salmon roe.
Salmon roe, okay.
So you see salmon in a lot of places. Right? Ikura.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things, there's so many different styles. And then one of the few styles that people kind of use as a kind of way to fake out caviar would be paddlefish.
Paddlefish.
And paddlefish is just, an ancient varietal.
Oh, those look damn similar.
But
that would trick me for sure.
This is known as, this is a true wild American product.
Okay.
Which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
And what's fun about it is, it's got the texture of a traditional caviar, even though it's a roe, and it can be added to a lot of different dishes, especially sauces or what have you, and add sort of that caviar vibe to it.
And it's less expensive.
It's less expensive, and it's technically paddlefish roe, so it's not a sturgeon.
Got it.
It's not, coming from the royal species. And then one of my favorite and one of the only roes that we create from the Midwest product would be the Great Lakes harvested whitefish roe.
Okay. Love whitefish.
Whitefish is incredible. Mm-hmm. I think it's a sleeper in terms of the market. Like, people just don't underappreciate it. And what a lot of people see it at face value and they think it's tobiko. But tobiko is a flying fish egg, has that texture that gets stuck in your teeth. Mm-hmm. And this is just like my favorite attributes of an actual whitefish, but in a roe. And then
last but not least,
so this is trout roe. We get it from a lot of different places in the world, sometimes Washington, sometimes Denmark. But what I love about this is it's a traditional sort of brook trout roe. It's got a very serious pop to it. And this one we're actually smoking over bourbon barrels.
We got a lot in front of us here, a little caviar buffet.
Absolutely.
But I gotta ask, the spoons, can we talk about these?
Yeah.
Is this necessary?
It's not 100% necessary, but it is an added luxury. I equate it to like drinking tea out of bone china. Okay. It's always going to feel even nicer on your lips as you're ingesting it. And really, the reason why this came out.
And what are these? Mother of pearl?
So these are mother of pearl.
Okay.
And then you could also use bone. You could also use wood.
Okay.
The key is they find that if you have an actual metal that isn't gold, and it
isn't gold,
and it touches, caviar, that it brings a metallic taste to the palate. Wow. So it's off-putting.
And that's so hilarious that only gold works with caviar.
Isn't that? And I got to tell you, it's like, it's amazing, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if someone had a gold spoon, it'd be cool. But like now you have a gold spoon and it must be 50 times the cost it was 20 years ago.
Now it's even cooler.
It's even cooler.
yeah, wow. I guess we can close things up, wrap it up here.
Yeah.
To the people who are interested in trying caviar, right?
Yeah.
Get a little extra money put aside. I want to buy some caviar for the first time and mess with it. What are some definite do not do's?
So don't sit on it. You buy caviar to eat it. We're not buying it to hang out with it. It's not something you want to put in your cellar. This is something you want to eat while it's fresh.
These are salted eggs. They need
salted eggs. They need to be eaten. If it's in a vacuum sealed condition, depending on the purveyor, for us, we don't pasteurize, so you get about 8 weeks shelf life.
Still pretty good for non-pasteurizing.
Very good.
Oh yeah.
But the idea really is once you open the tin, you eat it.
Got it.
And buy what you're going to eat, meaning like if you're having a party and you're having 10 people and you want 4 ounces of caviar, have 4 ounces of caviar. You don't have to break out an 8.8 ounce tin and then put the other half in your fridge and wait until later to taste it.
What are the big ones called?
So the biggest ones are the master tins.
Those are wild looking.
2.7 kilos.
Bricks
Phenomenal.
of caviar.
Phenomenal.
And you go through 1,000 of them. How does that work?
Well, so what we'll do is we'll taste master tins of sturgeon. You don't taste them really of the roes.
Sure.
And then we'll pick from those which ones we want to offer. And from those, we'll have those repacked in a cold environment for us and vacuum sealed.
So you hand pick the caviar that comes through here.
Absolutely.
So we can trust you with this.
Absolutely.
It's good to have somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about if you're buying from someone, because this just isn't regulated. There's probably a lot of bad actors out there, but there's also a lot of angels, caviar angels. That's what you are.
No, I mean, listen, we need more angels in this
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But also, we can't overthink it. Just like any luxury
Sure.
ingredient, sometimes you just got to get in there and taste it. And some things aren't for everyone, but it's really amazing once you try them next to each other, just like whiskey or just like anything on earth, you know?
Yeah.
You really kind of develop, what you love for your palate.
Totally. So on that note, just because it's more expensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's better.
I definitely agree. Well, it's a blind item, so there will be some people who sell a white sturgeon at 3 times the cost of other people. Is it necessarily better? No, but there is a lot of grading that goes behind the scenes, a lot of time, and just like anything else, you just really got to trust who it's coming from. That's the number one thing. And also, you just when you're buying it, like I said, you want to eat it.
Totally. What would you think? What's the most expensive master tin of caviar you've ever come across?
There's been some albino varietals that are like a step above golden, and we've seen them as high as like $700 an ounce.
Damn. And for like a master tin, what is that?
For a master tin, it would be...
How many ounces in a master tin?
95 ounces. So 95 times, let's say 500 on the cheap side, 47,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A 50 grand master tin of caviar.
Yeah.
That's wild. Man, well, listen, thank you for showing us your ways and imparting your wisdom.
My pleasure. How fun.
Yeah. I'll have to not let you down, run these back in the kitchen.
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Now that we're back at the crib, I feel the best way to digest all of the information we just learned is to kind of ask ourselves questions and answer it because, teaching is the best way to learn. So I've been told. So how should caviar be experienced? Well, there's not one way, there's not one hard answer here. It's whatever you want. But most classically, it should be served cold and you should be eating it slow and really savoring every bite. Ideally on a bone or mother of pearl spoon. We talked about that, remember? Gold spoons are tight too. If you somehow have a gold spoon, whip that out. The flavor's delicate, pretty much regardless, right? It can be a little brinier, it can be on the fishier side, I say that endearingly, it can be buttery. So, really kind of close your eyes and Remy that stuff down, really, it adds to the fun. So you finally mustered up the courage to buy some caviar, so how should you store it? Well, in the fridge, obviously, but put it in one of the colder spots in your fridge. You don't want it icing over, you don't want things freezing, but it should be quite cold. Classically, again, we'll go over this, but it is served over ice, but not frozen, definitely not frozen. Roderick mentioned this, but when you first open the caviar, it should be eaten within, I would say 2 days tops. You can close it back up and put it in your fridge. It's gonna change a little bit. It's best enjoyed immediately for sure, but you can get away with 2 days. I've done it, it's still fine. Best practice, eat it as soon as you can. And when you get that jar and it's unopened, it can sit in your fridge for 3 to 4 weeks, at least the unpasteurized stuff, which is generally the better stuff. Because remember, it is lightly salt cured, so that helps with preservation. So how do you know if caviar is high quality or not? First off, you gotta get it from a trusted source. We went over this, right? People can mislabel caviar and nobody's gonna arrest them for doing so. So there are bad actors out there, get it from a trusted source. The eggs should be pearly, they should be full, they should be kind of shiny and beautiful. Of course, the color changes depending on the caviar we're talking about here from all the different species. Make sure the eggs are uniform in size and make sure you're not crunching on some Tobiko. You want the real caviar. You paid the money, you want to experience it, we gotta do it right. Now there are substitutions for caviar, but I say that with a big asterisk. Remember, caviar are the roe from sturgeon, and roe are the eggs from any fish. You can get your hands on a lot of really great roe out there, but it's not gonna be caviar unless it's specified it's caviar, right? In my experience, the closest substitute to real deal caviar are gonna be those paddlefish eggs. Remember we tried those? They looked exactly the part, they just tasted a little differently. You gotta be careful with that also, but if you wanna save some money, you could start with the paddlefish eggs, that's totally great. I'm not gonna sit here and list all the fish eggs, but the ones that I think are noteworthy are Tobiko, those little crunchy guys. They come in different colors. They're usually dyed with natural dyes like beet juice or carrot juice or something like that. Got the whitefish roe, especially in the Midwest here. It's poppin', freshwater whitefish, little mini eggs, very delicious, especially when smoked. The Akura, once again, the larger salmon roe. And then trout roe. One of the best dishes I've had, period, actually featured trout roe. It was over in Rustic Canyon from Chef Andy Dubrava. It's a lightly cured pork chop with this beurre blanc sauce that he actually folded the roe into, which I wanted to talk about because, a lot of the times you're gonna wanna stay away from heat. You don't wanna make like a weird demonic omelet out of your roe. But a little warmth can actually be really delicious with the eggs too. So this sauce comes out, it's not piping hot, it's just warm through. You fold the eggs in at the end, and man, it was just so good. So you want to serve caviar, how much of it should you serve? Half an ounce to 1 ounce per person is a good rule of thumb, right? It depends on how much you like the person. And it also depends on, you know, the people you're with. If they love caviar, you might want to crush them with some eggs. If not, if they're kind of new to it and just want to try it, then you don't have to get as much. It's common sense, obviously, but when you see caviar served at restaurants and the chef isn't trying to like crush his buddies or overpower things or just be like a jokester, you're gonna see like a smaller amount of caviar per bite, which kind of makes sense, it's just balanced, but some people, you know, get machismo with it and pop a ton of eggs in one bite, and that's always fun, but you don't have to do that. And when you're using caviar with other dishes and you're not just eating the caviar straight up, other ingredients can easily overpower the caviar, so just be mindful of that too. Remember, we talked about it and we'll go over it when we cook with caviar here. Certain caviars are actually best paired with certain ingredients or proteins, for example. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. Let me show you a few ways that I would serve caviar. You might call this a classic service, and it has influences from many different cultures. Russia has a very deep caviar culture, especially among the aristocracy in the 18th and 19th centuries, where sturgeon roe from the Caspian Sea was served oftentimes with vodka, bread, and butter. Now, over time, France got their hands on the special little eggies and introduced elements like creme fraiche, an elaborate serviceware like the mother-of-pearl spoons we were talking about, ice beds, the whole shadiddly. Basically, Europeans have been caviar fiends for a very long time. Then, in the dumb, rich, post-World War II USA, Americans began to embrace this luxury, and it's also spread to places like Asia as well. China is a massive consumer and producer of caviar. The little pancakes, or blini, can also be switched off for toast points. They're a neutral base. Creme fraiche is a tangy, rich balancing agent. The chives bring the color and freshness. The minced shallot for sharpness to cut through the fat. The capers are salty and briny. The chopped egg adds richness and a little bit of protein. I like to divide the whites from the yolks. So you can add whatever you want to your little blini, right? Look at these things, by the way. Look how cute these are. These are actually made in France, which is interesting. Basically just mini pancakes. You can make these at home, but store-bought ones are perfect, I will say. So, you know, to start off, if you're doing this for the first time, I might just start with a little creme fraiche, just on there, not too much, a little bit like that. And then to be honest, like if you've never tried caviar, man, just like a nice scoop of that right there. Nice big boy. Maybe some chives. You don't need a lot here. And I mean, that's a great starting bite for me because you can really taste the caviar. Everything is cold. Nostrovia. Yeah. So for the Russian service, I wanted to choose this Beluga hybrid. This is the one that's sort of the most like classic, if you could say. This is like kind of what I imagine like a rich oil baron like having for dinner every night. It's kind of how caviar like used to taste, very old world. All these beautiful accoutrements, you can create your own bite, but I think we're missing a very important ingredient. A little bit of mother's favorite water. Well, let's do a little deluxe one here. I'm gonna go creme fraiche. I'm gonna go fat scoop. There you go. A little shallot, caper. It's a little extra, but you got the egg white on there and the egg yolk separate. And then, of course, a little shave. And that's kind of like, call that the deluxo caviar blini. Nostrovia. Woo! This is a great way to serve caviar if you have guests. I'm gonna show you a way that I like to eat caviar if it's just like, you know, me and my lady or some close friends or something. That's a lot less work. Not sponsored. All right, so the fun thing about food is that everybody's got their own way of eating, everybody's got their own preferences, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. Arguably, but you get it. I love a light, generic, crispy, unflavored Lay's potato chip as a vessel for caviar. It's mildly flavored, right? So you can really taste the caviar, but that kind of crisp, crunchy, textural boom in your mouth with those creamy eggs are just something, it's just something special. I like it more than a blini, to be honest. A blini is a little meaty, puffy, still great, still neutral and delicious, but I mean, I might just want to dress that up on a chip, and that's what we do. So I'll show you. I'm thinking we go bougie. It's a celebration. Life is a celebration. You never know if you're gonna live another day. We're going golden Osetra. This is my personal favorite. Look at how pretty. This is just like striking, man. That golden Kaluga, to me, it's a hue of golden, mostly green probably, but it's considered gold. This is what I mean, like all you need is the caviar in a light vessel. I don't need anything else on this. Fruity. But say you don't have Lay's. This has gotten really popular the past like 5 or so years, taking a bump of caviar, right? What does that mean? Well, you pop it right on the soft spot between your pointer finger and thumb, and you suck it down. That's the purest way to enjoy it, I would say. So as you can see, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. However, I want to show you one more way, actually one more pairing that I'm very excited about because I've never tried it. We got some Wagyu, baby. And I think to pair with that, we're gonna try the bourbon barrel smoked Kaluga. These are smoked over Pappy Van Winkle barrels. Very expensive rare whiskey, which just makes it all that much cooler. Look at that color on there. Oh my God. And I think the only way to do this is maximalist. We're not garnishing here, I'm not adding stuff to this. I'm using the eggs as the finishing salt pretty much on the beef. Wow. Damn, the smoke is very nice with the steak, I will say. I've had caviar and steak. I've never had smoked caviar and steak. That smokiness just punches through all that rich beef. I mean, this is Wagyu. This ain't lean, people. Look at that. It's an accordion of beef fat and protein with chunks of little black pepper on there, seasoned up nicely. Yet, the caviar still punches through and allows you that buttery salinity with that smoke on it, and it's very complimentary to beef. I gotta say, Roderick was right, and I'm gonna have to run that back. Just look at that. Match made in heaven. Triple threat caviar, Wagyu chip taco. There's a bajillion ways you can use caviar. I've seen chefs get very creative and execute like very high level dishes with it, whether it be a garnish stirred into a sauce or just eaten straight up off the palm of your mitten. There's a lot of ways and there's no right way. Hopefully the few ways that we went over today give you some inspiration, especially if you want to get your feet wet in caviar for the first time. So, is caviar worth it for you? Not a sexy answer, but it kind of depends. If you're brand new to caviar and you've never tried it and you're interested, by all means, purchase some, do the thing. It can be a classic service, it can be with Lay's. You can just hit it off your hand, your friend's hand. I want no judgment here, right? I don't want to kink shame. If you're caviar curious, but you don't want to break the bank, a great entry-level point as far as our alternative roes go is going to be this paddlefish roe. It looks pretty much the exact same thing, right? Taste is a little different, but as far as the other roes go, this paddlefish is gonna be, I think, most comparable to actual caviar. If you're watching this and you're like, Adam, I know, dude, shut up, I know about caviar, I'm a caviar god, and you've never tried smoked caviar, highly recommend that. So for my intermediate to more advanced level caviar people, if you've never tried it, you gotta try the smoking. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and be like a salesman, but this thing right here, this bourbon barrel aged Kaluga is noteworthy, put it that way. Very delicious, very different. And yes, I still need to put it on a bagel. I'm sure it would be delicious with some cream cheese. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new. I understand that with stuff like this, it can be very pricey and a little scary, but I've said this before, I truly believe that in order to sort of like grow your skill set as a cook and grow your palate and just be a more well-rounded food person, food lover and cook, you gotta try stuff. And if you got a special occasion coming up, by all means, pull the trigger. It's fun. And guess what? If you don't like it, you'll learn that. And again, another conversation point. Everybody's got their own opinion. I know plenty of people who aren't crazy about caviar, and I know plenty of people, probably more, that are. Where do you lie? That's up for you to decide. I hope you learned a lot about fancy fish eggs today. I know I sure did, but man, does this topic run deep. So if you learned something and you enjoyed the video, give it a like, it helps us out. If you're new to the channel and you like these types of videos, we're looking to do more, subscribe to the channel, join the party. The best way to support the channel is over on the Patreon, AKA the Grocery Fund. It helps us put the egg on the blini, put the creme fraiche on the egg, chives on the creme fraiche, the works. If you could help us financially to detach from the YouTube algorithm, we would love that. But if you cannot, that is no worries. Spend your hard-earned money on caviar, I get it. Come say what up in Discord. We're hanging out, we're talking about all things. I'd love to have a caviar conversation with y'all, see which one you like the most. If you have a funny story, a fun story, a bad story about caviar, or not, just, you know, have a story about how to cook a steak good. I don't know, you know, that's why the Discord is there. It's for like-minded individuals to come together and chat about food. So come introduce yourself over that way. That's pretty much all I got for you, I think. So until next time.